Do you want to learn effective ways to build relationships, generate sales, and grow your business from successful entrepreneurs, startups, and CEOs without listening to a long interview? If so, you've come to the right place. Gresham Harkness values your time and is ready to share with you precisely the information you're in search of. This is the I Am CEO podcast.
Hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Cathy Sexton of the Productivity Experts. Cathy, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yes, definitely. It'll definitely be a ball. And what I wanted to do was just read a little bit more about Cathy so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Cathy is a productivity and profit specialist, speaker, author, TV host, and coach. She helps individuals and organizations increase productivity and their profits. Delivering high-impact principles through speaking, coaching, training, and special resources, Cathy empowers people to achieve their personal and business goals, make the profit they desire, and still have time for family and friends. Cathy, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So to kick everything off, I wanted to hear a little bit more about your CEO story, and we'll let you get started with your business.
Well, really, my background is accounting. So I was in accounting for 30 plus years, and I'm also a reforming workaholic. So I don't think I put that in my bio. And in that corporate world, I realized that I all of a sudden started having a lot of health issues and, a few scares. But, like anything else, we have it, and then we kind of go back to our old normal habits, right? And then I got diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, basically, that is brought on and induced by stress. And the doctor basically, after multiple tests, and said, there's nothing wrong with your heart at this point, but what's going on in your life? And when we started talking, she said, I would highly recommend that you change careers. And then, at that point in time, I found myself, working harder and harder, like we all do, get on a hamster wheel. I was coming in earlier and earlier, staying later and later, just so I could get stuff done before anybody got there. And, when I finally got that last big call, I guess, it said, okay, wake up, Cathy. I was in the hospital for 3 days and realizing that my husband, could wind up being a widower, and my daughter without a mother, that was the tipping point. And I decided that I needed to change my direction. So what do? I'm an accountant anyway by trade. So I opened a bookkeeping business for small business owners. And, the biggest question I get asked is, but isn't that stressful? And I say, yes, it is, but it's my stress. I create it. I can eliminate it. I have control over it. It's not somebody putting pressure on me and me fighting the corporate world, basically. And so as I started this bookkeeping business, I realized that small business owners needed so much more help than just bookkeeping. They needed, they have no structure, they have no systems or processes in place. They're good at what they do. They're technicians, they know their skill, they know what they love to do, but running a business, they just plop themselves in it. So that's when I started going through the role of coaching and started to, so now my business is all coaching around small business owners, and also workaholics who want to have a better work-life balance. So that's kind of where my passion is and where my gifts are, and that's what I love to do now.
Nice. Well, I definitely appreciate that. I'm sorry, of course, to hear, all the health scares and things that were happening, but I'm sure it's great to hear. And I'm sure your family's also happy that you did make that pivot and that change, and not only, telling your story just to talk about how you've been able to overcome it, but kind of remind us, because there's probably a lot of type A personalities that are listening to this, including myself, that always need to keep a reminder of exactly what's important and how we can have control over our days, especially if we have our own kind of organization.
Correct. It's really about, why are you here and why are you doing what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you touched on it a little bit. I wanted to hear a little bit more about like how exactly you're helping people through coaching and building those systems. Could you talk a little bit more about how you're working with your clients?
Sure. I do, actual individual one-on-one coaching. I'm in the middle of currently, and I almost have my first module done, but I'm currently creating a learning portal for small business owners, basically. We'll look at minds. There'll be a module on mindset, one on systems and processes, one on expanding our own capacity, and then the big one is the miracle money method. Mm-hmm. So, and there's also one that's called PPP, which is your personal productivity plan, teaching people how to handle all that incoming stuff we have coming in on us every day, the emails, the phone calls, the messages. We have all this stuff coming in, and if we don't have a process to handle it, it gets overwhelming at times. So I do that, and I do a little bit of group coaching, but my sweet spot is small business owners, helping them with their finances, helping them with, the work-life balance, and trying to get them so that they can start enjoying their business again instead of just running a business. We go into business because it's something we usually are passionate about or we love to do, and we lose sight of that a lot of times. And so I like to bring that back to them, realize they don't have to work as hard as they're working. They just have to work smarter, and they have to work differently.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think a lot of times, and, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like sometimes because we've been running our business and we're so close to it, and sometimes you get in the method of doing things a certain way, it's really hard to kind of detach yourself from that and see that there is a better way to do like some of the processes or systems, or just look at things in a different light. So sometimes, talking to, an expert like yourself, it allows you to get that new perspective, but also implement those changes as well.
Oh, definitely. Because, really, we all only know what we know. We only know from our past histories or what we've been taught or, along our way. So that's why it's so great to, have a mastermind group, work with a coach, because they're going to bring their experiences in. And, so often, oh, I never thought about that. I even do that when I'm, in my mastermind group. Oh, I never thought about that. It's because we only know what we know. Wow. And until we are willing to be open and listen, that's when we broaden that knowledge, and we broaden that, and then we can then choose what is a better way of maybe doing something.
Exactly. And we definitely all have that choice and that opportunity to do that. So I wanted to ask you for what I call your secret sauce, and it could be for you or your organization, but what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
Well, I think what sets me apart is that generally coaches are life coaches or business coaches, mm-hmm. or you might have an accounting person to help you. But because of my accounting background, I come in coaching and I already have that information. Mm-hmm. I can, so it just is a whole, it just works so well. It's really interesting because when I really realized I loved coaching so much and I was helping so many people, and I was trying to fight that accounting stuff. I don't want to do that anymore. But then when I embraced it and realized, a lot of small business owners need that because they don't even know that part of it. The nitty gritty, even if they know how to read a balance sheet, whatever, or profit and loss, they don't know, okay, how do I change it? Mm-hmm. So, so that's what I think keeps me apart. And I also teach them how to pay themselves first, which is what we were taught when we were younger, is always pay yourself first. And that sounds good, but it never seemed to work out.
Right.
But I now have a systematic way that I teach them how to make sure they're getting paid first, they're having taxes put away so that tax time comes, they have a reserve fund, and they learn to be very savvy with their money.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that, because I think a lot of times when, I think that is definitely the elephant in the room is the finances. A lot of times people don't want to talk about it, don't want to look at them. But I think a lot of times if you're maybe working with a coach and the coach, you say, I don't necessarily have the money to do that, or I don't know how to make the money to do that, then maybe that coach doesn't necessarily have that expertise to be able to direct them or even look at their finances to see. So I appreciate it, because it's not like you're kind of separating the two. It makes you who you are because you have that expertise that you can say, hey, we should probably consider implementing this, and this is how you can set up your finances to do that. So to kind of separate the two it makes it a little bit more difficult than being able to have that expertise you do.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I have found that it's really, really helped a lot.
Yeah, nice. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
I think, what makes me more effective and efficient is basically and it's kind of what I teach my clients, is that I'm very focused on what I'm doing every day. So I don't wake up the morning saying, okay, well, what am I doing? What did I do yesterday? What do I need to do today? At the end of the day, I'm saying, okay, what are those first couple things that I need to do tomorrow? What's important? And it's not always what needs to be done. It's what is most important for me to get done. And I really recommend only knowing 1, 2, 3 of those at most. And don't worry about anything else, because when we know what's really important for us today, then the interruptions start coming. We can then decide what to do. But if we haven't decided on that focus for today, then the distractions start taking over, because other urgencies start popping up when we haven't really defined. Then, we have something to weigh. Not necessarily that other might be more important, but until we have something to weigh, that's how we get caught up into the craziness of the life and the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It's almost like, if you don't set your high priorities, everything becomes high priority because everything's an emergency, and you kind of have to be, I guess, on offensive when it comes to that, to set in the day, like, just like as you spoke to, where, the day before, these are the things I'm trying to accomplish. This is what success looks like, so that when those other things happen, it's not like they're not high priority. You just understand that you can figure out exactly where that stands on that totem pole. Now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget, and this is a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. Or if you can hop into a time machine, what would you tell your younger business self?
Oh, what would I tell my youngest business? I think I would tell my youngest business self to be more open, to be a little bit more of a risk taker. I'm an introvert for myself, but so I'm not a risk taker. But when I think one of the biggest things I learned is, somebody said to me one time, a very good friend, a mentor, she said, if you don't invest in yourself, why should other people invest in you? Mm. And that was such an eye opener for me. And at that point is when I started, willing to spend the money on, courses and coaches and things like that, because I realized, that they have knowledge that I need. And trying to struggle along is not the way to go, and to say I can't afford it is always not the way to go, because you have to look at what's the outcome going to be, what's that ROI. So I think those are kind of the best nuggets I can give you.
Yeah, I think that makes so much sense. To understand, like, when you're running a business, you're hoping somebody will invest in you and invest in, all the expertise that you have. But we also have to continue to kind of sharpen that saw, so to speak, by, investing in courses or going to seminars or reading books, audio, whatever that might be. But right. as we continue to do that, that also gives people more, reason to invest in our products and services.
Correct. Yeah. I think it's really important because, when you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I, raise my prices, whatever. Well, I can't do that unless I'm increasing my knowledge, unless I'm bringing something new to the table. And also, if I'm not willing to do that, why should I expect people to buy my services and not, and pay me if I'm not willing to pay other people?
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of times it's a little bit easier to increase your prices than to increase your value. That actually takes the time and energy of putting and investing in yourself and investing in your business and your organization. So I appreciate that nugget. And so now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Cathy, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Being a CEO is really life-changing for me. Because of my story and knowing that now I get to change lives. I'm not just going through the motions of what somebody else wants me to do. I get to actually change lives, make their life for the better, do what I'm passionate about and what I love to do. And if I could afford to do it for free, I would. And that's kind of where my passion is. So it really is about extending what I can out to the community and helping other people grow in a positive way.
Nice. I appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate that perspective and appreciate your time, because I think a lot of times, you want to try to provide that value as much as possible. And I think we have an opportunity to definitely do that. And like you said, in your case in time, you mentioned the word kind of control. You're able to kind of take control of your life, but you also take control of the impact that you can have on yourself, but on others as well. So I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate that definition. And what I wanted to do was pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and then how best people can get a hold of you, find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Okay, great. Yeah, people can find me at theproductivityexperts.com. Email me at Cathy with a C at theproductivityexperts.com. Currently, I have a quiz, a work style quiz on my website that people can take for free and kind of see where they land in that workaholic life. And then soon, as I said, my learning portal will be up hopefully by the end of the year, and that'll be going forward. Got a couple live events coming up this next year. The last thing that I would just say is, especially for newer CEOs, is to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and look outside yourself. It's always bigger and better. And if I would have ever thought I'd be where I am right now today, that it wasn't even imaginable 10 years ago, not even imaginable. So don't box yourself in. Don't, leave your wings open a little bit, not too far, but a little bit, and enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. No, that's a great reminder. A lot of times, if you look back, 5 years, sometimes even a year at where you were versus where you are now, you'll be astonished. So that's more than enough reason to continue to take those steps, to continue to take those risks, big or small risk, and just continue to keep doing what you're doing. And if you have a vision, then go for it. So, Cathy, I appreciate you so much again, and we will have those links and the information in the show notes as well for anybody that's listening. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you for listening to the I Am CEO podcast powered by Blue 16 Media. Tune in next time and visit us at IAM435.co. I Am CEO is not just a phrase, it's a community. Be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. Grab CEO gear at www.ceogear.co. This has been the I Am CEO podcast with Gresham Harkless. Thank you for listening.